call and we just can give some discussion. But today we will give more game. We have more experience. So instead of watching Wednesday Forum, we will experience the Wednesday Forum. So please welcome. We have Mbak Rika, Mbak Risha Dewiani from Kyoto University. So kita
Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome. Okay. So thank you, Mas Abdi, for the introduction. My name is Risha Dewiani. You can call me Risha. I am originally from Bandung, Indonesia. Currently, I am a doctoral student at Kyoto University. To be precise, Disaster Prevention Research Institute, so DPRI. It's an institute that research about disaster from like different aspects. So my part is the social aspect. Actually, before coming here to Kyoto University, I have been working for some years in Indonesia in urban planning / disaster risk management / community empowerment. And from there, from my experience, I learned about different elements of society, including the marginalized ones. I have some interest in the marginalized society or marginalized groups. I have encountered my work or my research volunteer works with people with disability, with refugees from other countries coming to Indonesia, people living under poverty, elderly, children, and youth. But like this is my first time to start exposing or encountering myself with cultural related diversity. And marginalized groups are, I think, part of this phenomenon. So I am starting my doctoral programs last October. So it's quite new. I'm just in the first semester on how to build community resilience to disasters without or by ensuring everyone is involved, including the people who are less heard or people who are invisible due to their cultural identity. And so today we're going to just play a game. Silakan Pak kalau misalnya mau masuk. Oh ya, nanti aku bilang.
Ya, biasanya di depan ya.
So actually, you're going to sit in groups, but you'll figure it out later. So we're going to just play a game because today is our first week of Ramadan. I'm sure like maybe some of you are having or doing fasting just like myself. So I don't want to bore you too much with, just one direction talk. And since I don't have that much expertise on cross-cultural things, so I'm just going to let you, the experts, to talk instead. So before we start the game, just to give you the context on what I meant by building community resilience. So, at least in Indonesia, we are on a ring of fire with many volcanoes, more than hundreds of active volcanoes, and we are on plate tectonics, not to mention the climate risk, etc. So you have heard a lot of disaster news from the news, right? And it keeps raising and raising. So the communities in Indonesia, at least, and where I'm working right now in Japan, we are expecting the community to be more resilient by developing the ability to cope, to adapt and grow with the shocks and the stress. So the shocks could be earthquakes or flash floods, terrorist attack. The stress could be food water crisis, unemployment, displacement. So we are expecting our community to be we are expecting our community to be more resilient by developing the ability to cope, to adapt, and to grow. But the thing is, what if our community is culturally diverse? And I think Indonesia is culturally diverse, right? So whose resilience are being built, actually? Were there any groups in our society that are excluded because of their cultural identity? And how do they share the space and the resources in order to be resilient, to be ready for any shocks or stress? And then how do they make decisions in responding to these shocks and stress? How do we make decisions? And our game is actually about decision making today. We make decisions every day. You decide to accept me as a facilitator here. You decided to come here today. You decided to be enrolled in this program, this beautiful program at the CRCS and the ICRS. And the thing is, our life maybe has been so okay, normal, until we are faced with shocks or stress. So during the shocks or stress, we also have to make decisions. And the way we make decisions are influenced by many things, many factors. Maybe one of them is culture. I guess so. Experiences, risk perceptions, and many more. And then how we decide things in our life, it will result to something every day. And it will result to something even during disaster, whether we are going to survive or we are going to be resilient or not. And in making decisions, we face dilemmas, even in everyday, whether we want to choose mie goreng or mie rebus, or we want to choose to be in UGM or in another university. But in under disaster situations, we are also going to face dilemma. The difference is during disaster, we have very short time, and usually our resources are limited, and usually we are under stressful conditions. So there are differences between making decisions in everyday life and during disaster or under disaster related situations. And what we're going to play the game today is about decision making under disaster situations in our first round. It's called Crossroad Game. And then after that, you will share the results of the group work. And then on the second round, we're not going to play the game, but you're going to contribute to the game. So based on your own expertise or based on your own cultural backgrounds, your own experience related to culture, you will think about what kind of dilemmatic situations you may face under disaster situation. So without further ado, let me just share with you about the crossroad game that we're going to play. It is a game that was developed based on real events. Real event in Kobe earthquake in 1995, if you have heard about that, or they call it as the Great Hanshin Awaji earthquake in 1995. It was very big, almost the same number of casualties with Jogja earthquake. We have experienced earthquake in Yogyakarta as well in 2006, the big one. So based on the experience of volunteers, local government working at the front line, and disaster survivors. My supervisor back then, long time ago, Professor Yamori and Professor Hikawa, they tried to gather different kinds of diplomatic situations that they faced during the Kobe earthquake. And so this is one of the examples of the diplomatic situation based on the real event. So this was a city employee, and the city hall has almost totally collapsed, but there are some documents, like very important documents, related to the disaster response that they need to take under the collapsed building. So do I take it or not? So it was one of the diplomatic situations faced by one of the city employees back then in 1995. And so this game has been played nationwide even until today. I think thousands of participants played this in Japan, but with different version. Because Kobe's version was about earthquake and fire. They started to make the other versions like tsunami. I have tried to make one with the engineering faculty here in UGM with Merapi version, and many more versions. So, first round, let's play the game. Make sure you are with a group of 4 or 5, and you have this big. You have the diplomatic situation here, both in Indonesian and in English. Okay. And then what you have. Group of 5. So if you're only 2, maybe you can move somewhere else, or you can. You can move to the part, and then yeah. Okay. Okay, group of 5. Okay, before you start, so you're going to. I'm going to read out loud the diplomatic situation based on tsunami preparedness version of Crossroad game. This was already developed in Japan and played in Japan as well. And then what you need to do is only to decide whether you will choose yes or no. But please don't share it with your group yet. So you just need to decide yes or no, and then you write down your reason at the sticky note. There, I think you have the sticky note over there. And you also have this spidol your pen. Masnya tidak ikutan.
Lagi kerja.
Okay, so I am assuming that all of you already. Okay, so I'm going to lead the process. So we're going to have you decide yourself and write down the reasons for yourself in 3 minutes. I mean, for 3 minutes. And then after I give you a cue to stop, then you stop, and then you can start to share. Okay? After you share, you discuss with your group why you say yes and why you say no. And then maybe you can get some insights from it. I'm not going to say it yet, but please get some insights from your friends' reasons. And then, because this is a game, so I'm going to give some points.
Right.
So later on, after you don't have to drink it. So So, Ibu boleh duduk dulu. Ada di grup yang manapun yang masih sedikit mungkin. So later, after you share how many yes or no, you cannot change, yeah? You cannot change. Okay, the majority of the answer will get tongchi. Okay? But the minority will get a tea from your hand. Okay? Why we do this? Later, I will tell you why. Okay, so anyway, let's just start the game. So, suppose you live in a village, in a coast area. Kalau misalnya spidolnya kurang, berbagi saja. Okay.
I have one. Everybody.
Ya, berbagi. Ini kan bulan Ramadan jadi. Okay, so suppose you live in a village at the sea coast, and then you know before that based on an expert estimate that if an earthquake happens, 10 minutes tsunami will come after the earthquake. You know that before. And then just now you feel a sudden earthquake, you feel a sudden tremor, and you quickly begin to evacuate to a higher place. But then you remember, oh, there's an old lady that I used to take care of her. And so your situation is whether you go to the lady first or you don't go to the lady first and you immediately evacuate. So yes, if you go to see her first, no, if you directly evacuate.
And you
So 3 minutes from now, decide yes or no, keep it to yourself and write down the answer, the reason.
And you say lady, it means beautiful lady?
So your question can be part of your story and your discussion. Okay, 3 minutes from now.
No.
You don't have to discuss yet. Just keep it to yourself. Keep the answer to yourself and write down the reason why you say yes or no. Yeah. Do we have
Bertanggung jawab. Kameranya bagus tuh pakai gini. Keren. Untuk mengurangi. Iya. Yang dari atas itu bukan yang dari mana.
You don't need to discuss. You cannot discuss during disaster situation. Just.
Itu hobi. Bu akan sopir.
Okay, 1 minute left.
Bu akan apa?
Asalnya sehat. Mbak bisa di sebelah itu atau
Izinnya tuh.
ya di sini.
Bilang. Ikut operator belum? Di depan sama ibunya bikin dulu.
Ini banyak di depan aja, bertiga bisa.
Ayah di depan Maria.
Kalau kita depan aja.
Kalau dia apa kan?
Oke, 30 detik lagi.
Jadi dia apa?
30 seconds left.
Kalau dia apa bisa meninggalkan hari.
Don't forget to write down the reason. Okay, I'm gonna give you another 1 minute so that our participants can finish the session. 1 menit ya Mbak. Oke. Okay, so next up. Okay, so now you can share with your group your answer. And then just later you have to let me know how many yes and no's in each of your group. Jangan takut ya. Dari mana? No.
Orang-orang yang
Kan tiga-tiga.
Kalau tiga
Karena kita sendiri, jadi walaupun sebagai aktivis bahwa apapun mungkin
Main banyak yang gas, yang non cuma satu yang gas ya. Itu saya. Kalau mau
Okay, so any group wants to share? While sharing, you can collect apa tuh namanya? The sticky notes from your groups and then take it here according to the answer, whether it's yes or no. So who wants to go first? Maybe the center group wants to go first. Bapak tadi mungkin mau ngelatih unek-unek. Beautiful lady. So do you want me to just share this and then you can share the front? Maybe.
ngobrol dulu. Saya stand up. Saya ngantukin.
Oke, sambil ke depan nanti sambil
cuma ini doang. Oh, terkenal di mana, Pak?
Clap, clap. So look at how many yes we have here. But I don't know why there. You cannot bring units under this type of situation. Yes, no, yes, no. And we have less no, but it doesn't mean that the no's are incorrect. Okay, so Bapak siapa namanya? Pak Emmanuel will share with you the result of the group. Silakan, Pak.
Thank you. So from our discussion, we answered yeses 5, yes, and 1 no. Most of the yeses are because of the humanitarian, but my personal reason is reading to this story. It's just an earthquake, and there is no evacuation announcement from government. So that's why I think it's safe to just make sure the elderly person is safe in that place, because as my experience living in Japan, if there is no tsunami evacuation announcement from government, it can be from our mobile phone or other media, so it's safe to come to that place, and we don't need to evacuate. Just make sure the elderly person is fine. Yeah, that's our reason. And 1 no, it's just because he has the panic attack, so he tend to not to help.
Oh, who has the panic? Oh, okay. One of your, okay, has a panic attack, and so decided not to. Okay, okay, okay. So what are, anyone have the same reason? Yes or no?
Humanity.
Maybe that group? Oh, ini yang semuanya sama ya? So why did you all answer yes?
Because they're strong.
Okay, but then,
There's another reason actually because it is in the village, so we assume that the elder is someone who has knowledge or wisdom about the village. So we decided to save the elder people because we still need them, their wisdom.
oh, so you assume that the elderly is worth to
Yeah.
be rescued
Yeah.
because they have wisdom.
Yeah.
I see. And you assume that you are all strong.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not incorrect.
Can be true. We will divide the elder if needed.
Okay. Any disagreement? Maybe some no's, some people who answer no can raise their hands.
No.
Or no?
What?
No, okay. Can you please share why no? Oh, maybe you can.
Okay.
No.
Lebih keras?
Okay. I answer no because I don't have humanity.
Because first, the time spent for me is kind of too short to evaluate someone, and then also the people they say have like strong dreamer, and then there is possibility no one safe in this scenario. So I think for the community worker is useful for him to save himself, and then later if there is a profession he can help later in after the earthquake incident.
Okay, so you assume that the time is too short for the tsunamis to come. So you assume that you cannot go to the
Back and
lady and then up again. Okay, so that's your assumption. Okay?
We have three notes here. We have three notes here.
Oh, yes, please share.
can you do?
Please, one of you share your group's results.
Because I'm not strong enough.
And then?
So it's that's how I have a strong tremor. I mean, like when I get a strong tremor, and also cannot think clearly whether if I come to the lady itself is quiet, so people just don't know what to do, and then maybe both of us will die.
Yeah.
Both of you will? Okay. So, tremor is, you assume that the tremor is too strong?
Yeah. Also, I didn't have the capability to secure the woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
Oh yeah.
Any other no's reasons?
Elsa.
Yeah, please.
So it's based from my personal experience.
Of course.
In earthquake Jogja 2006, there were a rumor that there would be a tsunami, and I was just like I think 8 years old or 9 years old at that time. Okay, and at that time I was separated with my parents, and also some of my relatives are telling me that no, I will not go. I will just rather die in their house. And then the separation between me and my parents, especially as a kid, I think it makes me think that when we are stuck in this kind of situation, we always think to prioritize ourselves. So maybe if we are just seeing this as a narration, maybe we still have the logic, but when we are at that moment, we cannot think clearly, and we rather choose to prioritize ourselves. So that's why I say no.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, brother, we have so you're one of the disaster survivors from earthquake 2006, right?
Yeah, also the pandemic. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, terima kasih. So anyone who wants to, yeah.
Yeah,
Silakan.
actually my answer is yes, but I have another view.
Change your mind.
Yeah, that's a big friends. I see that some of people right now believe in the feminism idea. So why should we save her? Because
Can you elaborate?
she is very strong, maybe stronger than me. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the idea of feminism. So instead of you running out and to save her, and she just say, "Why should you come here? I'm stronger than you. Get back, get back, get back." Yeah. And then another reason is my friend told me that we believe in God. But my friend say yes. So if we save other people, the God will save us. But for me, the answer is just the other side. I say we believe in God. Let God save us.
I wanted to give you this because you have a different way of thinking. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. Do you get like, oh, why we are doing this yes and no, and then why I put assumption here? Maybe do you get some insight or like key takeaways from our discussions? Anyone wants to share your thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mbak, Mbak, silakan ya.
So some of you say that you assume that there's no evacuation announcement, right?
Yeah.
And then you assume that you are strong or you are not strong enough to save the lady. And one of you assume that it's too short to evacuate. And then you assume that will be panic. You will be panicked, just like your story. And then you, last but not least, assume that the lady is strong enough, then maybe she will reject you. So this assumption is actually something that we can fill in through disaster preparedness. So if we know the route, like how much time do we need to go from our home to the lady's home to uphill, then we will have a better information to decide, right? Whether it's enough time for us to go to the lady and then go up. If you know already that information, then you will face no dilemma or less dilemma. So that's one of the points. And then, since actually this is an elderly woman in the neighborhood that lives alone, and you took care of her as a community worker. So can we also assume that you kind of know her, whether maybe she will not reject you, or she will seek your help, or she will wait for you, or not? Or if you are better prepared, then you will know how to look for her, to contact her. If you cannot contact her, then maybe you already agreed with her. If an earthquake happens, then I will come to you, no matter what, for example. Or if an earthquake happens, please go ahead. Don't wait for me to get to you. So if that kind of agreement made before any of these dilemmatic situations happen, then you will face no dilemma. And this is the point, like one of the points of disaster preparedness. You are getting yourself ready with enough information and with agreement with your surroundings on what to do, whether to wait for each other or whether we go ahead by yourself, something like that. So this is just one of the examples of dilemmatic situations and how we want the participants of Crossroad game to think about what information is missing in this story. Can you name one information that is missing in this story? That if you have that information, you will better decide. You have a better way to decide.
Condition.
The latest condition. So if you know the latest condition at that moment, maybe we can decide.
Stay at home and not to stay because actually my grandmother do that when the tsunami in Palu. I don't know about the time. My grandmother wants to stay at home. She said that if she will die, she will be at home. So we don't know. But my neighborhood is take care of her in home. So that's why I choose yes because I want to pay back. Apa ya? Pay back to their what they're doing my grandmother.
Oh, okay. I see. That's very interesting. Yeah, because it is indeed in some of the rural areas in Japan. There are many elderlies living there. Japan is facing depopulation, right? So many more old people living in rural areas, and with the prediction of tsunami, some of them think it's too big anyway. I cannot run, so I will not move. So I'll just stay here. There are some people who think like that. And then if I think the point is if you communicate beforehand and agree on what to do with your family, with your relatives, your neighbors, I think you are better prepared in making better decisions for yourself. So, any questions? No?
Do we put the religious idea in the situation?
You may. You may.
Because the last time I remember that Mbah Marijan, when was it was 2000, the earthquake, his dead in position of prostrating. Yeah, because his belief it's the time to see God, to go to heaven. So why should we help him or we save him? Because just maybe many Indonesian already believe that this is good. Yeah, mati bagus, mati bagus. Yeah. So in that case, if we put some religious idea in that elderly woman, she will say that why should you save me? Why should you save me? I want to go to heaven. Yeah, that's the
Don't
idea.
go to heaven with me.
So yeah, we have to make sure that this is outside the idea of religious thinking.
It could be anything. It could be like it depends on your assumption, and that's why it depends on how well we know with about this
Social
lady.
community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Pak.
One thing which I think also is important to note that we are making decisions which not in actual stress situations.
Right. Right.
So maybe the situation will be different if we really are in a sensitive kind of situation. We think now in different way. We think in believe in God. We think in different scenario. We use our logic, etc. And because we are not thinking under stress.
Yes.
And also even 3 minutes.
Right. At that moment, at this like if it's real situation, maybe you have to decide like right away.
Very clear.
Yes.
I believe the God will save her. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And actually, this is related to your statement, Pak. What we're going to do next is that. Oh, sorry. Before we move to the next round. So, just to summarize everything, we have both yes and no's with our own assumptions. So actually, there's no universally correct solution. It depends on the missing information in the story, and it depends on whether we have agreed or not, we have communicated or not with the people that we know we are going to deal with when we face a disaster situation. And then, same number 2. And those missing information in the story, it should be part of your disaster preparedness action. When you don't know the lady, then try to know the lady now. when you don't know how much time to go from here to uphill to the ladies' home, then try to measure it. Now, the thing is we don't do it, right? And then number 3 is related to the tea bags. So we just want to also highlight that we are faced in the same situation, but different answers. So imagine that the earthquake really happened. So imagine how many kinds of way of thinking people in our society will think. It will be very diverse. Even in this classroom, we have a very diverse opinion. So the disaster manager should think about how diverse people might think about how to respond a situation. And so why we gave the minority answer a different one is because we want to also appreciate people who think differently. Maybe we know the majority will say yes, but sometimes the disaster manager have to also know that there might be some people who think differently, and we should think about how to deal with both actually. So there's no better or worse answers, but yeah, the point is missing information can be your part of disaster preparedness. So the second round, because I know that most of you, maybe if I'm not mistaken, have the background of cross-cultural studies. So, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you are experts in this field, and you have encountered many cases of people with different cultural backgrounds. So maybe today you can share, no, you can discuss by pairs what kind of dilemmatic situations you might face, but with adding the cross-cultural or multicultural settings. First of all, why we need to think about the relations between cultural and social differences in disaster risk reduction? First of all, social exclusion is happening even in normal situations. But in disaster situations, including the pandemic, it might be amplified or not. We don't know. So social exclusion could still be happening even in disaster situation, and it will be a worse situation for those who are already excluded even in normal situations. Just for some examples from some papers. First is the linguistic minorities. This is during the 3/11 the
9/11?
the 3/11 earthquake in the Great East Japan earthquake in Sendai and around Sendai. So there are some issues on linguistic minorities. Even in Kobe in 1995, also this feeling of isolation of some people from outside of Japan who cannot speak very well Japanese, who cannot read very well Japanese, they feel isolated.
Japanese.
Japanese?
Oh,
Japanese. And then I think this one is from the Merapi eruption. So LGBTQ community, they experience marginalization in their daily life, and moreover during the Merapi eruption, because they were not listed in the evacuation list, and then they were discriminated in the temporary shelters. And this is just one of the link between cultural and social differences in disaster risk reduction. And then this is related to your point, Pak. Belief system may influence decision making. Whether or not I evacuate, I follow the instruction of religious leaders. And then, in contrary to the above one, there is one concept called tsunami tendenko, which is a rule of action to run. Anyway, just run. Don't think about others, just run. When there is an earthquake, especially for the coastal areas, communities. And this saves the lives of almost all 2,900 elementary and junior high school in Kamaishi during the Great East Japan earthquake. But the rest of the people in Kamaishi, Kamaishi is one of the most destructed areas with most casualties, except the elementary and junior high school who were taught about tsunami concept, just run by yourself. So they have developed this kind of culture since 2005 until 2011. So just imagine if the people from above, with the above belief system, with the below one, live together in the same area. So what should we do as a leader, for example, or as one of the people who have those belief systems? What should we do? Now the society, especially in urban areas, just like Jakarta, are getting more diverse culturally. So we have to be ready about how people think based on their cultural background. So people raised in different cultures might have different ways of communicating, of living and making decisions. And then now you can start to think about dilemmatic decision-making situations related to disaster faced by multicultural societies. So you can imagine any cases that you know based on your study or based on your research. And then you think what happened if those people from different cultural backgrounds are together in one same area and then faced with a disaster. What kind of dilemmatic situations could be there because of their different cultural backgrounds? Okay, so we can try to do it like by imagining yourself as a marginalized group or a leader of a culturally diverse neighborhood or city. Think about any dilemmatic situations related to cultural, like multicultural settings. And then you can write down the dilemmatic situation on a sticky notes. And if you want to put your names on the back, because we're going to stick it somewhere here, so that I know who have this idea. The next step could be your idea could be tested in the same like crossroad game elsewhere or here, I don't know. So if you don't mind, you can put your name so that I can acknowledge you if I use the idea, if you don't mind. Okay, so within 10 minutes, you can start to pair up 2 by 2, dua orang, and think about any dilemmatic situation. I know it's hard, but you can do it.
Buat tehnya kapan?
Nanti Pak, nanti
Imut,
1 jam lagi.
Ya, imut bisa.
You can work in pair or 2 to 3%. Okay.
Oh, beda pengalaman di Sendiri dulu ya. Orang bicara ya kok.
3 to 4 persons to share your beautiful works. So anyone want to share? Maybe from that group. I haven't heard of it. Anyone from that group? If you want to go to the front and then yeah.
I think Jonathan and the next team also go off to front also. Too professional there. Yeah, yeah.
May I have your name?
Yes, Jonathan.
Jonathan. Okay, Jonathan. They can share with everyone.
So we were looking at the story that you said about people having access to shelters, and we were thinking of a situation where, after an earthquake, the government has set up a shelter that people can stay in, whose homes were damaged. But only people who are local can stay there because it's built for the local community. So you're the manager of the shelter, and the people entering the shelter have to have some kind of ID or proof that they are local. And you have a student who wants to enter the shelter who is from Papua. So should you allow them to enter the shelter or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's the.
Oh, no, thank you. Whether everyone will say yes or some will say no.
Aye.
Okay. No, hold on. Maybe.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Then you. Or can you think about the possibility of people saying no? Yeah.
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 But maybe not openly.
Yeah, there are possible.
Oh, okay. So it is a dramatic situation
Yes.
for the manager.
Yes.
Why do you think people would say no?
Stereotype, stigma.
Okay.
Discrimination.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. Okay, thank you. Anyone wants to add or to or anyone have the same points or similar story with this one about evacuation shelter manager?
I think we live in a conflict dynamic in society.
Come again,
Yeah,
sir?
we often live in conflict dynamics in society. So
Oh,
social hierarchy, cultural difference, and tensions in society sometimes play a role in decision making.
Yeah.
So
That's
people might choose one group over the others, one person over the
Yeah.
others,
okay.
because the history of conflict in the
Yeah.
society,
I
the
see.
history of tension in society, and that's sometimes disaster can also be exploited
Mhm.
by parties in conflict.
Oh, that's right. So it's not only about cultural background, but also about interest.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I see. Okay. Thank you, sir, for the input. I see that you're raising your hand. Yes.
Yeah, I think in the context of the disaster, we often think about that instant, the moment that disaster happens and how we deal with it in that moment. But it's normally the impact afterwards when you've got that liminal space where you don't know how long you're going to be in a shelter or how long before you can be rehomed. That's where the potential for issues may arise.
Do you also have, can you link that to your groups? This is part of your group's discussion, yeah?
My mind's just gone blank. But for example, there are cases, if you look at, I don't know, cases where there's been a disaster and then there's been a suggestion that there's been looting happening.
Looting.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, who is it who's from the looting? And then perhaps there will be, because of stereotypes, oh, it must be this person, something like that.
I see. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jonathan and James. Do you have your names there?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, any other groups? Yes.
Still in relation to Jonathan, do you still have to from what we discussed, one possible things may also happen for that is that different cultures or even religions might be united in that situation. So stereotypes left from behind, and then during the disaster, during the situation where humanity is invited to appear, differences might come together. So that is the experience that we learn from what we experienced.
Your experience in
In her case, in my case.
but that's yeah, okay.
Yeah, my case was during a hurricane in Miami.
Oh.
So I was with my friend, staying in one place. It was predicted in 15 hours, Miami would be hit by hurricane in 15 hours. So we saw the on TV. And so everyone was encouraged to move up north. We couldn't go because we were just still new students there. And so our professor came to pick us up, but only had one seat. So we were only one seat. And so she didn't want to leave us. So she is from there. She's Catholic American. And we're Indonesians, both of us Muslims. She couldn't leave, like she waited because one of us must go. One of us must be saved. But we agreed, both of us, I am Takin. Yeah. We agreed like if one is saved, the other should be also saved, or the other way around. And so we agreed, and then she waited like to think, I cannot leave you behind. And so that's what the moment where we see differences, didn't matter. And so that's also her case. They're Muslim Christians during the eruption of Kelut Mountain. Muslim Christians like moving together to the same place, despite of their religious diversities or differences. You here with Indonesian students and Chinese, you experience small tremor, yeah. Small, but that already bring you to a situation, to make a close connection to people with Chinese and with others.
Oh, okay. So due to disaster, people forget about the difference and humanity number one.
Could be, yeah, it could be that way, yeah.
Okay.
That's what
very
we got from here.
yeah, that's very interesting. So in my slide, I say social exclusion could be amplified, but it could be the other way around, right? So it could be even like torn.
Yeah.
Thank you. One more, maybe? Me? Yes, you will.
Well, I'm sure that many of us know about Marijan.
Yes.
But what's interesting is that it only took the order from Sri Sultan Hamengkubuwono IX, which already passed away. So when Sri Sultan Hamengkubuwono X instruct him to evacuate, he didn't listen to him because he said that I have appointed by the Sri Sultan Hamengkubuwono IX to be the spiritual guard of the Mount Merapi. And when the Mount Merapi erupted, it's actually my responsibility to always cry to God so that, God will save the people around the Mount Merapi. So Mahmarijan said that Mount Merapi is my home. So whether I will die or I will live, it's my home. So there is no reasons that I have to be evacuated. But then he said that, for those who stay around me, please listen to the government. Please go to evacuate. But then, of course, some of them are really, like being loyal to Mahmarijan, and there are probably, I think, more than 30 people died during the 2010 eruption. So, I mean, this is another interesting condition, the leadership and the culture, but also the responsibility of the spiritual keeper of the Mount Merapi, play in the disaster story. So yeah,
Thank you, Ibu. So the dilemmatic situation might be faced by the local communities who are under the influence of Marijan, whether or not to follow him or not.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that could be one of them.
Interesting. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ibu. Do you want me to attach your?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe we have one more. We can have one more group sharing. Anyone else? Yang sebelah sini? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember the case when Sukabumi hit by earthquake. You know that the casualties is very big, and then there is some people who rejected the aid because of it comes from another religion.
Yeah.
You know, that's the tent, and they just open up the tent and just give it back to the church, which will give the tent. I think that's we as a social worker have to think about the differences between the place when we want to help and avoid it to try to avoid the rejection. I remember that.
I see. I see. Do you want to respond to this case? Anyone? So, can you elaborate what kind of dilemma might be faced by whom in that case?
If I have aid, I have to remember what is the majority of the religion of the place, because I don't want to be rejected if I go there and give them aid, because you know in Indonesia sometimes the differences between religions become, if Mas Anju said that in some place they become united, but in another place maybe the differences become
More obvious.
more obvious. Yeah.
I see.
Should we convert in the disaster condition?
I don't know.
Muslim, yeah. At the time. Yeah.
I have experience when earthquake and tsunami hit Pangandaran, because I live near Pangandaran, only half an hour from Pangandaran. And when we go there, there is a case when one of the church in Tasikmalaya or Ciamis went there and bring the aid. And when the people knows that this aid came from the church, they rejected because we are Muslim. We don't receive the aid from you. This happened in Pangandaran in I think 2006.
It's like Christian Muhammadiyah.
Yeah.
Is that kind of Christian Muhammadiyah? Yeah.
So it become our consideration because it happened.
So you were assuming that you are a person who is giving, like a social worker, giving aid to a different people of different religions, and it will be dilemmatic for you whether or not to give the aid to this certain group of people.
Better we go with the neutral organization like Indonesian Red Cross or something. Bring your brand, or bring your religious group.
I see. I saw you.
Yeah, I just want to respond to that. I think the dilemma is on the management side, I think, at least, because although we want to be neutral, to be safe, but the money really, we know it comes from the church. So whether or not I think what kind of label we can ethically and contextually choose to show or not, or with whom we collaborate, I think it will be an important decision, because although although we have some minorities rejected, but when we can collaborate with the right group, religious group, like for example, I also have some experience for disaster preparedness in apa namanya sebelum Magelang, Magelang lah. Pokoknya Magelang.
Borobudur.
We from Singapore we collaborate with the local Muhammadiyah because they already have very strong apa namanya presence lah. Yeah. So although we have risk in bringing religious labels, but we also have opportunities in other places.
So you want to contact people whom people already trust, so that you can deliver your aid even to a different religious group.
Yeah, because I myself I'm coming from a Christian background.
Yeah.
I have money, for example.
For example.
Kalau gitu kan dikasih beasiswa ya.
But then the dilemma is whether I use my church name or only using the Muhammadiyah name.
Oh.
And there's no such thing as the Church of Muhammadiyah.
Not yet.
Okay, I see. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. If you want to stick your answers at the front, anyone, even though you haven't spoken yet, we will appreciate. But if not, then it's also fine. But it's just nice to have like many different ideas based on cases that you know as an expert in this field. Okay, so since we are going to buka puasanya jam berapa, Mas?
Ada maghrib.
Di jam 17.55.
Oh yeah. I'm not familiar with the open the pass. You sleep it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
So I don't know whether if any of you still wants to share your thoughts, we can still have more time. But if not, I will just wrap up. So it's up to you. Maybe I'll give opportunity if kalau kebelet pengen speak up, silakan Mas.
So I think most of us, I don't know, think disaster as a nature disaster. But what about the human disaster, human-made disaster? Like when some factory in my hometown owned by the Chinese conglomerates, and then the waste disposal it destroy our harvest. And in the village, we have some famine. So because we don't have rice, not because bansos, but at that time we don't have rice. So the decision of the village chief is interesting because we only this bunch of rice in the lumbung, and we need to choose at that time to whom we give this rice, cadangan. Whether to give to all, we cannot support all. Yeah. But how we give, like, who's get the first? But the problem is we know that the problem comes from some kind of ethnicity at that time, and then that's the dilemma came. But because the most of the rentan vulnerable people comes from that ethnicity.
The Chinese?
From the Chinese at that time. The Sepuh.
Oh, but he is Sugih, right?
Huh?
He is Sugih.
Nah, that's the problem.
Rich.
Where is Sugih? Because the Sugih Chinese, the rich Chinese is not stay there, stay outside the village. That's the problem at that time. So during the 2 weeks, we need to decide to give family first, something like that, to decide. That's interesting thing. I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, which is it okay we give the culprit or code by code, something like that. So if it's human made, usually it's, I don't know it's unite or not, because if we believe in like a natural disaster with, oh, it's beyond our power. But if it's human made, usually like, no, it's your problem. No, it's you are the cause of this everything. So
Usually it leads to conflict.
yeah, conflict. For example, we have crisis 98 and many things. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Sometimes we need also think about the human made
Yeah.
disaster.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with that. Actually, when we say disaster, there's no natural thing about disaster. It's always made by humans. Humans are always involved in any kinds of disaster, because if there's like a tsunami in a faraway island where there are no humans, we cannot say it's disaster. It's just an event. It's just a natural event. So when we say about this, when we say the word disaster, there's always a human involved in it, and humans are not separated with their cultural backgrounds and differences. And I think you know better than me. But it's true that that kind of disaster triggered by humans may lead to conflict, and it can also be dilemmatic. And it's also interesting for us to know how to cope with that. How do we prepare for that kind of situation? So thank you so much. Okay, anyone else?
What's the time for buka?
Ready for breakfast.
Okay, ready for
Open the fast.
Okay. So thank you so much, everyone. So just to wrap up everything, this is, as I mentioned to you, I'm just a first semester doctoral student in Kyoto University, and I haven't really started my research. But today, these 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I went to 8 different cities to just learn about different like cultural diversity context of Indonesia. Because even within Indonesia, we have different contexts in Cirebon, in Bandung, in here, Yogyakarta. And why I came here, actually, I emailed Pak Iqbal to consult with him about this matter that I'm not familiar about. And so I thank Pak Iqbal and the CRCS team for having me today. You can really contact me if you want to discuss more about relating disaster with cultural diversity. I'll be happy to discuss with you. Minta maaf kalau misalnya banyak kekurangan dari saya. Thank you so much. And
Okay. Thank you very much. So before we get more disaster, we got the hunger. So please, Mas Iqbal, to come up and give the souvenir, our ritual to prevent the disaster. Speaker better. Because we are hungry.
Oh, ini this is a masterpiece that I'm going to present it to you. A lot of people are very proud to have the masterpiece of Mas Abdi, our design expert. Terima kasih ya Mbak.
terima kasih, baiklah. Selamat berbuka bagi teman-teman yang berpuasa. Dapat teh bisa ke depan.
Buat sendiri tehnya.